All right, we have already wired up all of the methods. So we drilled down from the controller. We could have begun by creating first, for example, the entity manager, then the create antelope method. Then we would have mapped this method inside the business layer by creating a writer and calling the entity manager. Okay, you can see here that now we have the create antelope. We would have exposed this method through the writer in the business layer by using the facade. So the facade now creates an antelope writer called the create antelope, and then everything is wired up. So now we have the create antelope exposed through the facade, and now this facade that was injected inside the antelope's backend API can be called by the controller here. As you can see, we create a writer from the antelope's backend API and we call the create antelope. If we take a look inside, what we did before was this. We call create antelope, we create an antelope transfer, and then of course here we can also use a mapper here. So we can create the mapper also here to map from a DTO from attributes transfer. So, but let's first test that this method works. So here now we have the antelopes transfer. We can create an antelope collection that is going to be equals to new antelope collection transfer. And then we can return this response builder and we pass the antelopes collection transfer. But before passing the antelopes collection transfer, we have to add the transfer. So we can just inline here, add antelope, and we pass the antelope transfer. Okay, let's give it a try to see if everything is working or if we have to still modify the code. Let's send the payload. Okay, we have to fix the antelope writer that is not found inside the business factory. Maybe we didn't import that class. So you can see now that the antelope writer is imported. So let's give it a try again. And here in the writer, we have to pass the entity manager. So get entity manager. And here we can type hint, for example, in the business factory that get entity manager is not the default entity manager. Okay, but that is the antelope entity manager interface. So you can see here that we have the type hint for antelope config. We have the type hint for the antelope entity manager, and we have also the type hint for the repository. All right, now you can see that the entity was created. You can see the response is 201. We have the data, and you can see the new ID is 43, type antelopes, and you can see here the attributes. You can see my new antelope. Everything is okay. You can see also that this is the data that we passed to the API. So everything is now working. We can just add here in the glue layer, we can add also a mapper here. Let's create the directory mapper. Then inside the mapper, we're going to create the interface. And then we define a method to map the antelope attributes to antelope transfer. So we can call the method map antelopes backend API attributes to antelope transfer. And then it's going to receive antelope's backend attribute transfer and antelope transfer. And then it's going to return an antelope transfer. Let's create now the class. And here is implements. All right. And here we just return new antelope transfer from array, and then we call antelope's backend attribute transfer to array. And here we can pass just true to ignore missing properties. And here we don't have to create an instance. We just use the parameter. And now we can go to the writer in the creator class. And we can also inject here antelope mapper interface. And here we can call this antelope mapper map antelope's backend attributes transfer to antelope transfer. So here we have already the parameter, and here we pass an instance of antelope transfer. And of course we have to go back to the factory because we need to pass an instance of antelope mapper. And we can just call this create antelope mapper. to isolate that piece of code, and then we can include the method here. All right, we create an instance of the antelope mapper here. All right, let's give it a try again by changing some data here. Let's call it my second antelope. All right, and you can see that the new antelope was created.